Alrighty, so today I want to talk about the Extreme Class Festival of Battles mission, an Extreme AGL, an Extreme INT, and an Extreme Tech character for the ever so pesky, infamous Festival of Battles event. And what I want to do is just go over the team that I used, talk about the characters' roles on there, and then we could sort of move from there. So, cut and dry. Very, very simple to start things off. If you have the Extreme Tech LR BROLY, he is going to be your option for the Extreme Tech side of things. If you are somebody who is looking for alternatives for the Extreme Tech, I think that one of the best options is going to be the Saiyan Vegeta, as you guys can see on your screen right now. He is going to be one of the best options as well. Some other things I have seen is a Future Saga build with Fusion Zamasu. If you're running Trunks and Vegeta, I think that can potentially work for you. And if we just sort of look at the scape of Extreme Tech right now, or the scope, whatever you want to say, right, is not the best, right? But again, it's pretty simple. If you have the BROLY, he is going to be far and away your best option in this event. Somebody else is the Golden Frieza and Gogeta on a potential Pure Saiyan / Fused Fighters team. I think he can work out pretty well as well for you. But really, the top two options to me right now are the Saiyan Vegeta and the new BROLY. So hopefully with your Dokkan Day tickets, you ended up picking him up, or you got lucky enough to pull him on the banner. I think these are your two best options. Some other alternatives would include the LR Tech BROLY from the Worldwide Download Celebration. You guys know him, you love him. Extreme Tech LR BROLY is very good. Has the ability to stack his attack, but you are going to need to use damage reduction items at the end of the fight. I think for Extreme Tech characters, that's just sort of what you have to focus on. So that would be sort of my first bit of advice for the Extreme Tech side of things. Now, when it comes to Extreme AGL, I think this is probably the trickiest portion of this specific setup. So again, the options here for me are going to be the Extreme AGL Zamasu. He is the Zamasu that fuses into Fused Zamasu. Kind of tough to have this guy with dupes if you're a newer player, though, so that's why I'm not going to, recommend him to the fullest in this case, so just keep that in mind. But we also have the Extreme AGL Full Power Frieza, who was, I believe he was on the Anniversary banner or the GDC banner. I could look while I'm talking here what banner he was featured on. He was somebody who I think was pretty good in terms of who you were looking for the event. I really like his ability to stack. He has damage reduction, and you could run him on the Successors team. So this is a unit that 100% can work for you, but he is it can be a little bit tricky, and it's going to be the same case here for somebody like AGL Rose Goku Black. I think you can get away with running him due to the fact that he's capable of tanking the supers, and especially if you try a Future Saga setup, you could potentially run him with stacking Vegetas, or stacking Trunks and Vegetas and stuff like that. I think he is also a potential option for you as well. But the character you're seeing in the gameplay for us today is going to be the Namek Dirty Fireworks Vegeta. I do understand that, again, this is going to be another character that you do not probably have with a lot of dupes, but thankfully, in the footage that you were looking at right here, he is actually 55%. So, being 55%, you guys know, as long as you have one copy of him, I believe he can work out pretty well for you. But when it comes to the last banner that Full Power Frieza was on, let me get back to that old point there, shall we? If we go right here, I'm over on Dokkan info on the second monitor while we're talking about this, but Full Power Frieza, if we move along to him right here, the last banner he was featured on was the 10th anniversary Gogeta banner. So hopefully you were playing during the 10th anniversary, and if you were not, you do not have him, unfortunately. That was the last time you were able to obtain this character. But if you are missing him again, Dirty Fireworks Vegeta, I think, is going to be the ticket for you. He seems to be one of the better Extreme AGL options, and you can run him under the leader skill for Tech Vegito as well as AGL Gogeta. So those are going to be your options for Extreme AGL. And now, last but not least, we need to talk about Extreme INT, and then we can get into the gameplay section of this. This one comes down to a few options, and you guys can see on the screen right now, I am using one of them. The first one being the INT Legendary Super Saiyan BROLY from Saiyan Day 2021, who got his Easy A. He has damage reduction against Pure Saiyans and is going to be holding it down pretty well for you. He also has the ability to stack his attack and defense, so he is a very good festival character who you guys are probably seeing on a lot of clears on Twitter or on Reddit, whatever you use, right? If you just are on YouTube, these are things that could potentially happen. Now, if we look at the option I'm using in this video, you are looking at Extreme Int Goku and Frieza. Now, Goku and Frieza are not they are a stacking character, but they're not stacking in the sense of, like, you don't need to stack them in this specific team build. That's what's so good about this Goku. If you just stay tagged as Goku, and there's one real key element that we'll get into with Goku. He is going to be a fine option for this specific method of gameplay here, right? So just keep that in mind. But Extreme Int, this is definitely going to be a trickier setup. And if you have this character as well, I think this is going to be a more realistic option for a lot of players due to the fact that he was on the Golden Frieza and Gogeta banner. Extreme Int Hit is also somebody that you could run. You could try the hit setup with Accelerated Battle, and I think that also could work for you as well. So Extreme Int Hit is also a very good setup. Now, that is sort of the team composition in terms of the options that we're looking at. But now that we have all of our alternatives out of the way, our options, all our alternatives. That's our alternatives. Say that one 100 times fast. We can get into the actual team build itself. Now, with the team build, you guys can see we are running a Fused Fighters / Successors / Pure Saiyans team. Now, there's a key element of strategy here. We have AGL Gogeta as our leader because he's just going to give the overall best buffs. Now, our secondary option for a leader, but we're not going to be running him as a leader here, is going to be Tech Vegito. This is a different strategy from what we've been running in the past, right? Usually in this event, I have to make sure before I say something silly, typically what you do is you work through an engine of like one Vegito taunt, and then you have physical G4 as your other engine of damage and all of those other things. But in this run, we are trying things a little bit differently. In the traditional run that we would do, or what I would advise that you do, is you have one Vegito taunt and then you nuke with physical Gogeta 4, and then you hope that he counters supers and things like that, and that is how the gameplay is going to work. But in this specific case, we are going to be running 2 Tech Vegitos and a friend Vegito leader. That way, we can run through 2 taunts, we can get through whatever we need to get through in that phase, and things are going to work out. And as always, with the Super Saiyan 4 and the Vegito setup and all of these different things, super attack placement is going to be key because we need to counter supers and things like that. Just typical stuff that the Festival of Battles is going to present. So when you have all of that in mind, this is the core setup that we are going to be using. Then we have to talk about the rest of the team setup, right? We have the physical Super Saiyan 4s as usual, and then another Tech Vegito friend that we are going to be stacking. So for the team, it's going to be AGL Gogeta leader, Tech Vegito, the physical Super Saiyan 4s, Extreme Tech Vegeta from Saiyan Day, Extreme AGL Dirty Fireworks Vegeta, and then last but not least, we have Extreme Int Goku and Frieza, and that is how it's going to work. So now that we have that, we can speed up this footage a little bit until we get to around the Daima phase, and then we can start talking about what you can do in the event that's going to make this a little bit easier. Okay, so the first thing that we need to go over while the footage is sped up for a little bit is what are our rotations going to be? This is always an interesting sort of question of like how you're going to play the game. In this specific case, I did that on purpose, by the way, what you saw there. The rotations that we're going to start off with is a Tech Vegito on rotation no matter what for both of your primary ones, because we are mainly going to be dealing through his taunt damage to get through the end of the fight. Now, the next portion of this is where things are going to vary a little bit. What you're going to be doing is keeping the TUR Vegetas on rotation with the Vegetos in order to maximize their defensive capabilities with stacking, and you want to get to around the 1.5 million or so range for them to go and be where they need to be. As you guys can see from the footage in the winning run that I had, it was a very, very slow process. This is a lot further than usually I would go in terms of turns. 74 turns in the Festival of Battles is quite a bit. So when you have to get that right, stacking them to about 1.5 mil defense, the 10 years will be more than built up to where they need to be in order to get this done. Now, that is sort of like the main setup for your rotations. Once you get the proper defense on your TUR Vegetas, you can float them off and then sort of go back to your regularly scheduled programming, right? AGL Gogeta lined up with one of the Tech Vegetos, and then the physical Super Saiyan 4s lined up with one of the Tech Vegetos, right? So in this run in specific, the Super Saiyan 4s are not going to be typically where you have them, right? I know in the footage here, you just saw physical Gogeta 4 just one turn Tech UI, but but that's not going to be like the case for every single time that you see this, how it's always going to work. These things can happen, right? Sometimes you're going to get it right, sometimes you're going to get it wrong, but that is sort of just how it goes. Now, when you get to where you need to be, we are going to have things exactly where we need them, right? We have, this was, I think, a pretty hard turn for us to figure out, because when I was figuring this out, I was talking to somebody and we were like trying to figure it out together. It's like, what should we do here? It was actually pretty tricky, and I think that I kill app a few times just trying to figure this turn out. We do the Dirty Fireworks Vegeta active skill, get some extra damage in there, and I think, do we ultimately go with this, or do we? Yeah, so we ultimately go with that. Now, we were worried about Goku tanking in slot 1, but clearly we had enough defense to do so. It's going to be the same case for building up these characters as usual, right? If you guys are familiar with my Festival of Battles guide, the original one, it is a very similar process to what we are doing here. The 10-year fusions, we want them to be around 3.5 to 4 million defense in order to be completely safe in the last phases, and we can take care of what we need to take care of. When it comes to the support memory we are bringing the Fused Fighters support memory, the AGL one, or we're bringing the Goku family, the STR Goku family support memory. That is going to be buffing our 10-year fusions, doing all these things, and we're doing the usual process of the items. We are going to be bringing Whis items, so that way we can manage the normals in the Daima phase, and I believe one of the other phases as well. No, maybe not. But we're using Whis items, right? When you feel that it's necessary to use one, you'll know, right? Especially when you get towards the Daima phase, that's when you need to play things safe. We use the Vegeta active right here in order to get the extra damage in and ensure that we're not going to take any damage from potential supers. That's something that you can do as well. So when you have that set up, you are pretty good to go at this point. Now, I mentioned earlier with the stacking of Vegeta, it's going to be pretty deceiving on AGL Vegeta. His defense is always going to look a little bit lower than it actually is, due to the fact that his start of turn defense is not going to be his defense on that turn, because you need to grab an AGL orb or 5 orbs with that Vegeta in specific. So now we are at the Daima phase and we can slow things down a little bit. I want to play the Daima phase in its regular speed due to the fact that this is usually a run killer for a ton of players. Now, this is where, in a rare case, this is like a different approach that we usually would do. Typically, we'd want to save the Vegito taunts till the absolute end, but what we're going to be doing, believe it or not here, is fusing with Vegito. Now, fusing with Vegito is just so we can get as much damage in as possible, and the idea is that with our Vegitos, we are going to be able to take out the opposing fusions in one turn apiece. So what we're going to do is run double Vegito here, and then what we're going to do is taunt against the 10-year fusions. We are not going to be taunting against the Daima phase. So how do we manage this? You guys are going to see with just some trial and error, putting characters where we need to be. This is going to be the process. Now, one thing that I'm a tad bit concerned with here, at least with orb placement, is we need to be able to get something for our boy Gogeta, because we want those extra damage reduction orbs, right? Or the rainbow orbs for the extra damage reduction. So what we have here is a double. We ran a Whis to get the damage reduction, so that way our boy Vegito is just fine. Goku and Frieza are going to be fine, because really there's just no way we're going to take out Glorio in one turn here, right? That's sort of the setup. Now we're going to be able to get rainbow orbs for Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and he's going to be fine, and we're going to target Super Saiyan Goku Mini. Now, it doesn't really matter who you target with Goku and Frieza, but the key element here is that you get the rainbow orb. I meant to mention this earlier, but now that we are sort of in the phase here, this is going to be the key element to what you're trying to do. This is the rainbow orb for Goku is extremely important, because that's where he's getting 59% of his damage reduction. So with the guard and the 59% damage reduction, this is a character who's going to be able to take the normals, especially when you have a Whis item up. Now, why is this important? Because that damage reduction is just going to leave him susceptible to normal attack damage, and then obviously we are not looking for that. And in this case right here, the person I was running the event with was saying that Vegito's damage was a little bit low here, but thankfully it ends up being enough for us to be able to get this done. So what we're aiming to do in this specific setup is we are trying to take care of the Daima phase in 2 turns. This is not going to be a 1-turn setup here, unless like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta was like the complete focus of the run. We were like nuking with him and there were super counters on both sides, that really would have been the only way to take this out in one turn. But again, that was not the aim of this specific setup here. We were just trying to get through the Daima phase in 2 turns, so that way we're going to have 2 turns of Super Vegito in the fusion stages with their taunt, and Vegito is just going to hold it down for us. Now, you're going to see in a little bit that there is a bit of a tricky setup for this, but we are going to be able to get it done nonetheless. Gogeta's doing pretty good damage here, and then as you guys know, as is tradition with the Daima phase, what are we looking for with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta? It's about to happen. We're looking for that frame drop that indicates that we are getting a counter on the super. So this counter, especially post-super, going to do some pretty good damage here and set up Glorio to be in perfect position to go down on the next turn. So we are actually going to have a little bit more damage on the next case of this here, I believe. So we go over here, we are going to have the other Vegito not taunt, but we're just going to use the other Vegito, and you're going to see that he's going to put up some pretty good damage. Now, is it close? Absolutely. And you're going to see there's a bit of a strategy to this. So what we're going to want to do is flip into Vegeta, and then fuse into Vegito, and then fuse into Gogeta on this turn here as well to get the extra support. If I'm not mistaken, we're going to fuse in here and get the support. Now, we probably should use the active here, if I were to guess, because the plan that we are going to do is, if we use this active, there's a reason that we would do it if we're going to do it on this turn. It's actually tricky because this is past footage. I'm thinking it's like maybe we get the extra support with Gogeta, but we also don't like need to do it. Because we just already have that baseline. So it's like if we were to use the active, we're probably going to save this for the turn against Vegito, right? So that is what we are going to do. I know that took a little bit to get out, but we are going to save that for the turn against Vegito. We also have a Whis active item. We have a Whis active in this fight, and that is going to help us out as well. We have the AGL orbs for Vegeta, who gets extra defense with those orbs. So now you guys can see a little bit more of a proper built-up Super Vegito right here, and he is doing some decent damage, especially post-super. With all these counters, we're going to be good. We've been stacking with AGL Gogeta, and he's going to be able to put up some damage as well if we would need him to. Now, you guys can see this is a perfect setup after supers for the Daima phase. This is actually working out pretty well because Super Vegito, especially with the Whis active, is extremely overpowered. So we do this here, we get a crit right there, we do all of our supers, we target Glorio, then with all of these counters, we're going to be good, and we have more than enough of a setup here to take out Daima Goku. So when Daima Goku goes down here, it's going to be just fine. So 41 million right there from our boy Vegito. Then this, again, the triple super here looking very nice. This is a key element of links and stuff like that being in full effect. You guys can see the Gogeta support, the better link set is helping out this this Vegito tremendously. So now we have that counter there, and then Super Gogeta with 70 million is more than enough. So now, because this Gogeta, or this Vegito, does not have the Gogeta support, this is where things are going to get a little bit tricky. And I'm actually going to explain what I'm doing, and then I'm going to cut to where I get it right. So what we are doing here on this Gogeta turn, because we do not have the support, is we are essentially just trying as hard as we can to get the entire orb field to tech orbs. This is where we bring the takoyaki items, or whatever it is, right? The wasabi things right here. This is what we are going to be doing in order to get this done, right? I'll put something up on the screen, like on the side that says bring these, because I just realized now that I didn't mention it. But essentially what I'm going to be doing here for like the next 15 minutes is trying to figure this out. So if you guys don't know, what you can do is manipulate the key orbs by trying different combinations, putting characters in different slots, playing certain actives. So it gets to a point where what we end up doing on the proper run is collecting orbs with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta in slot 1, and then doing the taunt with Vegito in slot 2. And after I collect the orbs with Gogeta, I'm able to properly get the orb field that I need. So essentially what the next 15 minutes of this run is just me doing this, trying to figure out how I can get the orbs to 23. So I'm going to cut out the footage of me doing this nonsense, and we will be back when we have the full key field. Okay, so now we have the proper setup that we were looking for. You're going to see that the strategy I end up going with is collecting orbs with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta first to sort of change it, right? You guys could look at the time on the top left and you can figure out how many minutes that took. But I did end up cutting out a few tries. It did take a bit to figure this out. And this, again, was eventually what we came up to. It's like, do that, get the rainbow orbs out of there, get some typing orbs, and this ends up being the money shot, right? You guys can see right there, really good, but now we are coming down to we need a very specific thing to happen here, and thankfully, after like 11 to 12 different combinations, we figured out how to get the full orbs. So now what we are going to do, because we only have one turn of Vegito left, is obviously use the taunt. You don't get to take it home with you. So grab this damage right here. Doesn't really matter how much damage that does, but I guess if it does a lot of damage, then you know you're doing something right. You guys can see it barely even did it didn't even do a health bar. So now, again, those orbs are very important. You guys know why you should be using those items. Hopefully it gives you attack and defense per key sphere obtained of tech. So we are just looking for the full thing. And now we've obviously had Vegeta transformed for a bit. But he's going to be fine, right? It doesn't even matter what his defense at this point. It could be 0 on this specific turn. It could be nothing, and it doesn't matter. So you guys are going to see with the nuking capability here from Tech Vegito that these counters are going to do more than enough. Gogeta is attacking Vegito more than enough to get to where we need to be. And then on the next turn, we're pretty much home free at this point. We're feeling pretty good. Just due to the fact that I'm sure, as you guys know, Vegito is type advantage here, and then on the next turn we're going to have the Gogeta active support, and Gogeta has also been stacking a decent bit. You saw he was at 70 million attack, so that is going to also give us a little bit of extra damage. So in the worst case scenario, if Vegito were to not win on the next turn with the taunt, we would have physical Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's active skill as well. Then it would just kind of come down to a luck game, right? We would need like a super counter or something like that if all else were to fail. But you guys can see at this point, Vegito, especially post-super, these are some of the hardest hitting counters, some of the hardest hitting just attacks in general in the game. You guys know that counters are not what the attack stat on the screen says. It's exponentially higher, or it's just like multiply it by about 4 or 5 sometimes, and that is what you're going to get. So keep in mind, it's always going to be extra damage, and you're going to be good to go here. So here's what you're going to do. Let Vegito do his thing. We're doing 3 supers right here. We're looking really good. And those counters on Gogeta, they are going to hurt. I feel bad for Gogeta right here, right? This is not going to be a good day at the park for our boy Gogeta. So now we're doing counters that are nearly 100 million, and this is going to be quite a bit. So you may be thinking like, oh, after the supers here, we're not going to be able to take him out. But especially after our boy Vegeta supers, we have a ton of normals after that, and we are looking more than okay. We only need to do 3 bars of health. That is nothing. So there we go. For Vegito, this is what Vegito is going to look like. There you go. Now we are going to the next turn, and this one is super easy. Just put him in the most optimal placement for where you can get like the most amount of post-super counters in. So we're going to put him slot 1. We're going to use the active with Goku and Frieza as well. You just tag into Frieza and do that. It's free extra damage, right? It doesn't hurt to do it. It's not really going to make like a huge impact, but it does not hurt to have it. So you just go ahead and smack him with that. Damage doesn't matter, but you're going to see we get like a decent bit, right? Like it does do a 99999, right? So that is pretty cool. But again, it doesn't really matter. You'll see. What's funny is I asked my buddy, I'm like, do we need to tag into Goku again? And it's like, what does it matter, dude? He's not taking a hit. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good point. But, so what we do here is we fuse with Gogeta, we do the active with Gogeta and get the support from him going. Again, did some decent damage, nothing too crazy. Then obviously we do the taunt with Vegito. So where it's kind of sucks here, unfortunately, is we're a bit unlucky in the sense of where the attack spread is going. Basically everything is pre-super, but you're going to find that with the Gogeta support and the proper stacking of attack, it's not really gonna matter. You guys will see here in a second that our boy Vegito, even pre-super, is putting in some good damage. This is a good turn from the boy Vegito. So now everything's basically set, right? Links are active, we're ready to go, defense is where it needs to be, and we're home free. What makes this run so difficult is just getting through that damn Daimo phase. That's what's so funny about this event, right? Once you get to here and you start using your taunts and all these things, you really are set to go. But it still doesn't distract, like it still doesn't impact like what could potentially happen during the run. Sometimes you get unlucky, but you guys can see it was an 80 turn run. So this is a more slow setup, and you have to keep in mind it's going to look much different if you do have BROLY, right? It's a bit of a different setup, but this is for those of you who have not pulled BROLY and you want some potential options. What you do is you just put BROLY on the team where Vegeta is, right? And you're going to be fine. It's going to be much easier because you have to put a lot less effort into that BROLY than you do the Tech Vegeta. That's why this took so long, right? Because of the fact that I had 2 characters on rotation that were doing literally nothing on offense, right? It was just getting their defense where it needed to be and letting Vegito do the heavy lifting. So that is how we get this done. You guys can see Vegito is putting in some very good work, even pre-super. Like, it's like, it got to the point where it's like, are we even going to see our Vegito super? Like, that's how much damage he was doing here. So that is how you get done this pesky mission, and you get done the Festival of Battles sort of mission for the title, and you get to do all of that fun stuff. I know this is a bit of a pain, and it's really trying to lean you towards pulling the new BROLY, but thankfully his banner is double rates, and if you don't want to clear this because you don't like the Festival of Battles, that is completely fine. You don't even need to do this mission, right? 15 stones I know is a lot, but like if you really don't like this event that much, then you just don't have to do it. But if you do want to clear this event, I gotta slow down sometimes, and get this done with a specific mission in mind, this is what you can do to get it done. So I hope you guys enjoyed that guide. I hope it made sense and things are clear now, the team that you need to use, the setup that you need to do, all of these fun things. If you don't have BROLY, it is still very, very much possible. I can assure you that. You don't have to worry about it being like completely impossible. It's just going to be a lot easier if you do have BROLY. There are options, right? I hope that I was able to make it clear who you need to be using and all of that fun stuff, and it should make a decent bit of sense to you now that we've went over it. So I appreciate your guys' time in this one. I hope you did enjoy. Don't forget to leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you are new, so that way you don't miss out on any of my Dokkan content. Before we get out of here, I have to go over a couple things. We have channel members to shout out. As always, big shouts outs to you guys. Much appreciated for your continued support. Thank you to Nubius, Malcolm, Driftix, Devontae Little, Jr., Sean C., Blue Sun, Preston Kitty, Tekka, Chunkster, Soldier91, Not Dem1, he changed his name, Wesley, Van, Brian V., and Radokun. So there you guys can see, that is the team build that you can use, the items that you need to bring, the support memory that you need to bring, and then I'm also going to show me going to collect the mission, just to show you that this team can work to collect it. So that's all I got for you guys in this one. I hope you did enjoy. Good luck on your runs. If you have any questions, don't forget to join the Discord. We have a ton of people over there who can help you out and all of that fun stuff. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.